Hi, I'm Cooksey, and I'm going to show you my Increment over time plugin for Aximmetry, or Compound, basically. And I'll dive into it. So this is how it works. You download the Xcomp, and then you just drag it in to your flow, and then it's here. And we can add this to a control board if you want, but I'll just give you a quick show of what it does, and then I'll dive into some examples and how you might use it for your own projects. So this is basically a simple compound that copies some of the functionality of the camera mover, in that it can take a value between 1 and -1, like a continuous value, and then convert that into a value that changes over time. So think of like when you move a character in a video game, you push forward, so you're creating like a value of 1 for like forward, and the whole time you're holding that, it's moving your character. When you stop holding that and it goes down to 0, your character stops. And that's what's going on here, and we can demonstrate it. So we're going to put this into a peaker so we can see what's going on down here in this value here. And then we've got 3 variables. We've got a control signal, we've got the rate for the change, and then we've also got a reset. So you can see on the right here, I can plug in a control value, or I can drag it. So I'm setting one at like just more than 1 at this point. You can see this number's just going up the whole time. If I pull this down to less than 0, it'll go down. And then I can pull down and reset that. And it's the control signal is still going. So if I put that at 0 and then reset, it'll reset back to 0. We also have a rate control of how fast that'll work as well, because our control signal might be different depending on what input we're giving it. So if I set a control signal of like 0.001, it'll take a lot more of this value. It will take a lot longer to get to the values that we want. So depending on what we're working with, you might want that to be lower or higher, like that. So I'll show you an example of this in practice now. So here we go. We've got 2 of these now. And what I've done is I've mapped the control signal for each to a Xbox controller. So on the Y-axis, I've got the X-axis, or the whatever axis of the cube in Unreal, and then I've got on the X-axis the other one. So again, very similar to what the camera mover can do. And this is where the rate comes in. Like I might want this much lower actually, because it's moving around super fast. Yeah, we can move that around like that. And then we might want to map like the reset button to like clicking in the stick or something. So let's just do that. And then let's map this one as well. Actually, it won't, because it'll be both of them. But what you could do is set it to be kind of across both of them via an extra compound, or we can just ignore it. Actually, I think that'll work. Yeah, that just works. So you're dragging around, and then when I click the stick in, it'll go back to where we had it. And again, this functionality is in the camera mover, but that also includes loads of other functionality that you don't always want. It also only allows for these a couple of these different inputs. I think it calls it like position, which is a vector, obviously, and then like I think it can do scale and rotation as well. But this gives you the option to do that across lots of different things, and we can also map them to buttons as well. So I think I've got these mapped. So let's have a look. Yeah, so here we go. This is like the behind the scenes of what's going on here. I'm just going to use this first one for like the x-axis of the cube, and what I've got that linked to is 2 buttons, the A and the B button on here, and one of them's just inverted. So that means that I can press the button and the cube moves a little bit. Hold it down, it'll keep moving. If I press the other one, it'll go back the other way. So through this, you can build like really complex control schemes, and like I'm using a controller because it has this nice like analog input. But you could also very much use like another button or a rotary thing, or like a jog wheel especially is super useful, where you might want to be adjusting a value down like very, very slightly, like a key or something like that. You could use your rotary encoders to like tell how far you've been moving it and have that control like another value. It's really designed around like having analog input to like the digital domain. An example that I use it for a lot is that I have set up on like an iPad, like a touch OSC touchscreen control system for a lot of this stuff. And like moving the environment around, like it's super helpful for that, or just like really adjusting a key or some lighting or something without having to like dive into menus and like set it exactly. You can like really dial it in. And especially with that rate control as well, you've got ultimate control over it. So that's it. Very simple little module. Control signal, which you can map to things. The rate, again, which you could also map if you wanted to. I do that sometimes on the triggers. I have that multiplying the rate or dividing the rate. So then when I move around, I can like speed up or slow down things. And then like this helpful like reset button. What's not in here is like the code for moving it into Unreal. I'm just kind of using this to demonstrate what you could do. It's simply just this idea of like outputting this this absolute value from a continuous input analog value. So hope you find that helpful. Have a go, download it, dig into the code. It's relatively simple, but you could pull it into lots of different areas, I think, and hopefully you find it useful.